try it.
That's bad.
All right, welcome back to Groundhog Day. We are still working on this ramp truck here, and I got a lot of work done off camera the past week. Just been trying to knock things out, because Dave is hoping to pick this thing up on the 21st, which is 8 days from now. So you saw in the last video, I got the motor mounts and the trans cross member made. That's all good. Got the accessory drive on it. Power steering lines seem to work. We won't really know for sure until we get it fired up. My buddy James Keene looked up the pressure ratings for the stock Ford pump and this power steering pump, and I think he said the stock Ford pump was 1400 psi and this one was 1200, or vice versa. So it seems like that'll work. Got the radiator mounted in. Obviously don't have the fans wired up yet. I think to try to keep things somewhat simple, we're just going to do a couple silicone 90s connected with a piece of aluminum. You can see the 90 there. It goes from 1 3/4 to 1 1/2. This one will be straight 1 1/2. Well, not straight. 90, 1 1/2. And then we'll probably do the same thing for the bottom hose and just try and keep things pretty simple. I think this was an eBay radiator. Don't quote me on that though, but I'm pretty sure this was an eBay radiator. And man, it fit right in there perfectly. Aside from the bottom corners, I don't know if you'll be able to see them. Those bottom corners right in there, they didn't bevel out as sharp as these ones. They kind of tapered way down, so just had to notch those, and then it bolted right in place, easy peasy. Got the transmission cooler in there, lines ran to that. Obviously got the throttle body bolted back on. Got this tube kind of just sitting here for mock-up idea, roughly. I was initially thinking of putting it over to the driver's side, but then it interferes with the radiator hose, so I figured over here will be fine. Got the battery tray back in it, and I did splash some primer and black on this just to keep it from rotting away anymore. And then a few of the biggies, one of which, it's not really as bad as it used to be, but this was a huge freaking welt. I got the fuel cells all mounted. I say all mounted, but I might make one more bracket to hold them. Right now it's held in with 1/8 inch by a little over 1 inch strap. So yeah, it should not be able to go anywhere, but it's bolted at 5 different points with a nice nut and bolt and a lock washer. Got a hole punched out in the bed. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but neither of these hole saw bits would eat through this bed. Something about it. The normal drill bits went right through it totally fine, but the hole saw bits, they just like glazed it. It was really weird. So laid a piece of metal over this and torched it out. Actually, Pops did that while he was here helping me with a couple things. Torched it out and seems to be good. So now you can get to the fill neck real nice and easy. And I debated, it makes it kind of difficult to get to that, but I debated on putting that on the floor just to kind of hide it, but trying to unscrew that through this neck was a pain in the butt, so figured just leave it. And Dave initially wanted a hole to be able to access each tank, even though they're tied together with a 10 AN line, and figured right in here's very likely to where the tire for a vehicle could be. I thought it'd be better to just have the one fill both tanks through the one, because like I said, connected with the 10 AN line should be fine. And then something that I didn't mention in the last video is the 4L80s that come with the drum on them, the brake drum. Those tail housings are for a different sized yoke, like a thinner yoke. Like a standard one is 1.886 inches, I believe. And the yoke diameter for that drum is like 1.76 or something like that, 1.7 something. So I could not use a standard Turbo 400 yoke, and trying to weigh the different options for that, and ended up being able to just pop the center out of this drum and reuse that yoke. And that fit right in there, and then had the drive shaft shortened, and that turned out pretty good. And when they shortened the drive shaft, I had them put on the end from the 4L80 yoke, you know what I mean? Like the part of the drive shaft that was cut off and just bolted up. I had them weld that piece onto the drive shaft, so it takes just a normal U-joint instead of like some bastard U-joint. To go from like a smaller drive shaft U-joint to the bigger one for the yoke. So standard U-joint there, nice and easy to get. If anything goes wrong while he's out on the road, should be able to just stop in any parts store and pick one up. While we are on the topic of transmission and related things, got the shifter installed. This is the B&M Mega Shifter Truck something or other. Light Truck Mega Shifter is what the box says. So that is a ratchet style shifter, so you lift the lever to pull it out of park, and then you just hit it back, hit it forward, go through the gears. I'm more of a fan of gated style shifters, to where you can physically like do that, but ratchet shifters are fine. And it does not look like our pile of parts has diminished very much. So we got the frame notched out of the way to clear the exhaust manifold, and this should be our exhaust pipe that showed up today. This is all 3-inch mild steel exhaust that really I think I'll only need like 145 out of each side, a straight section, and then we can go right into these mufflers here. These are Flow FX by Flowmaster. Dave has said he's used these on a couple other vehicles, really like the sound. So he wanted to use them on this too, and he said they're pretty cheap. I don't remember how cheap, but he said they were pretty cheap. They call it a muffler, but let's be honest, that's just a resonator. So this thing's probably going to be a little loud, maybe just a little bit, but have no fear, because this thing is going to get a full exhaust, you know, a full exhaust. That's right, this thing's going to get stacks. So let's see, the manifold's about here. Got to do a 45, and then a section of pipe that's going to stop about here, 90 it out into a big 5-inch chrome stack that I think he said will go up to about there, give or take. So this thing's going to have a hell of a look that I'm excited to see. So yeah, he did say he was worried about it being too loud, but if these are too loud, it ain't going to be shit to just sawzall them off real quick and slip on like a MagnaFlow chambered muffler that's, you know, just cheap little guy. Actually, somewhere around here, yeah, those two boxes right there are like some $30 chambered mufflers that I got for the Skylark that I need to put on. One of these days I'll get back to work on my own stuff, but so yeah, there's the exhaust rough plan that I'm hoping I can get done today. And I've also got to finish this dang fuel system. Got the tanks mounted, got the return line ran into place, and just need to hook that up to the tank, not a big deal. And then I've got to, this is the fuel pump. This is a 380, I believe. Does it say anywhere? Pretty sure it's a 380. Yeah, anyway, I'm pretty sure that's a 380. And then this is the this big ass fuel filter. Don't remember what micron it is. He told me, I forgot. But yeah, you can see in and out there. So got to get those and the lines made for that. The feed line is ran down to where the tank is. Just got to cut it and piece these in place. Then the fuel system is done. And then I can work on the wiring, which is this box. That is a more or less custom harness from Howell. And here is the factory ECU that we're going to be running. That is supposed to already have the VATs deleted, so that this thing should fire pretty much straight up. And as far as the stock chassis wiring, I want to mess with very little of it. If we had more time, maybe not. But for right now, I think we're just going to leave as much of it intact as possible, and then he can put some sleeving over it, make it look nice and tidy, and not have to worry about it. Because Chevy's wiring, Real simple. Real hard to fuck up Chevy wiring. Ford and Mopar, they do some weird stuff. So here is our factory battery cable. This will go down to the starter. We'll probably end up replacing these. And then we're gonna have to punch a hole somewhere for the harness to go through and try and make that part look kind of nice and tidy. I mean, I am going to tidy it up. Like this, I think is a fuel pump wire that someone added at some point. I know it goes back to the stock fuel tank like harness, but aside from that, don't really know what it is. And then I've got to find the like distributor wire or something for like a switched power wire for the Howell harness for this. So one thing that I am gonna have to do is try to make a 2.5 to 3 inch reducer, because the factory manifolds on this I'm pretty sure are 2.5 inch. I can't see them being 2 1/4. I'm pretty sure they're 2.5 for. I mean, this is 496 cubic inches of muscle, and then all the rest of the exhaust system is 3 inch. So that is hopefully where this thing can come in. I'm hoping. This is like exhaust pipe expander, more or less. So this says, what does this say? This says 2 1/8 to 3 1/2. So this one should work. Just have to find some pipe, which I'm pretty sure I've got some pipe laying around. Some 2 1/2. And it's not like I need a bunch. I just need like 2 sections like this so that I can slip it onto the stock piece and weld that and then expand it to go up to the 3 inch. So if anything exciting happens, I'll turn the camera back on. Otherwise, oh, I don't think I ever explained this. There was a pipe on the back of the bed of the truck, and I was working on the fuel cells, trying to get those mounted, and I sat up at one point and just fucking clocked myself. So now that pipe is over in the weeds and out of my life. Also, the mirrors on this fucking truck, this one in particular, because I've had to crawl under this truck so many goddamn times, and you'd think that I would learn, but I'm just really, really dumb. So like so many times I've gotten up and then hit the back of my head on that, or I've just been walking by and this bolt right here catches my arm. I've got so many cuts on my arm from that. Enough crying. I need to get back to work on this thing. Like I said, if anything exciting happens, I'll turn the camera back on, but for the most part, I think I'm just gonna put some music on and try and get stuff done. All right, so time for an update. Exhaust, I was gonna say done, but that would be kind of a lie. I'll show you why here in a second. Anyway, exhaust to like the back of the doors, that's all done. There you can see the driver's side with a little whoop-de-doo. I don't remember if I told you guys or not, but this thing's getting stacks, some big ass stacks. But there is the driver's side, and there is the passenger side, equal little whoop-de-doo. Neither of these are welded in place. One, because I think I'm going to have to cut a couple slots and do like a clamp there so that this part can come in and out. Otherwise, to get the exhaust off, you'd have to pull the trans-cross member just because there's so much stuff in the way, and these have relatively narrow frames. Anyway, yeah, exhaust is done. O2 sensors are in place. So now I can comfortably finish up the fuel system now that I know that where the exhaust is. I can route the lines and everything so that they're not gonna hit them. And then once I get the fuel system completely buttoned up, I can move on to the wiring. And I think I said this already. I have the feed and return lines ran. Just have to cut them and put the pump and everything in. And I did find a bracket to mount the pump, which is nice because for whatever reason this one didn't come with them. Come on. There we go. Let's see. I think it's perfect actually. I'll probably wrap the pump a couple times around with some electrical tape just as like a little insulator so that this doesn't try to wear through the body of it. And then, like I said, can move on to the wiring. Got this big harness. Must be instructions. Got Got this big harness from Howell. Everything looks like it's labeled nicely. So I'll just have to get it in place. This should be comparatively similar to wiring up how I did the S10 or that blue Camaro, like an LS swap harness. I'd imagine that the engine obviously all plugs in, and then there's like 3 to 5 underdash wires that need to be hooked up. You know, a couple grounds, switched power, battery cables, things like that. And then this thing should be pretty dang close to ready to fire up. So once again, I'm going to do some of the less exciting stuff, finish up the fuel system. You've seen that 10 trillion times. Basically, I'm just cut the hose, put the fittings on, and we're done with that. And then we can start throwing the harness on. And I do have to put some new plugs in this motor, which ain't a huge deal, hopefully. Ugh. So I'm gonna get back to work. You guys just keep chilling and enjoying this free content. Win-win. All right, fuel system's all done. Got most of the wiring harness, well, everything's all plugged in. Just have to do some of the loose wires now, like fuel pump wire, switch 12 volt, things like that. But we should be able to hook the battery up and check that the key's gonna crank it over. We have it running through the stock Ford solenoid right now. Ready? Try it. Oh, we got power in here. Not doing nothing though.
Is the shifter thing up in park?
Ooh. I heard something. Alright, so the solenoid wire is a mystery. Spent probably 13 days inspecting the back of the ignition switch, and none of them, when you turn the key to start, do anything. Which, a real puzzler there. Everything else seems to be done except for, I got the ground for the fuel pump wire just dangling there while we were having the key on, checking everything. And I've got to wire up the torque converter wire so that when you hit the brakes it unlocks the converter. But aside from that, put oil in it, put some fuel in it, and then if we just arc across the solenoid, check spark already. This thing should at least fire up for a second until we kill it off and panic. It'll probably blow out a gallon of coolant on the floor. Alright, I do not remember where we left off, but I know that I've gotten a lot of work done since then. This thing is so dang close to being complete. Got the harness in place, have to tidy up some stuff over there. There's 4 wires that need to be dealt with. I got the fuel pump wires all ran. I got the ground just hanging there waiting to get it hooked up because we've been turning the key on and off a bunch. So I got to connect the fuel pump ground, and then that's all done. This harness really wants the alternator right here. If that alternator's here, then we're in business. But as of right now, some of this stuff is pretty tight, and there's nothing I can really do about it. And then the solenoid wire, for whatever reason, checking power everywhere, even right at the back of the key switch, there's just no switched power for the solenoid. So not really sure what's going on with that just yet. Still gonna do a little bit of investigating. Upper radiator hose, just keeping it nice and simple. Couple silicone couplers, 1.5 inch tube. Gonna do the same thing on the bottom, waiting for those to show up hopefully later today though. Batteries in. I don't think I've shown you guys that this will crank over yet or not, but it will crank over. See? So, worst case scenario, we'll put some sort of push button or something in there, but not really sure why. I thought it was this neutral safety switch off the transmission, so plug that back in, made sure it's in park, and still nothing. So it's probably just something stupid I'm overlooking, Got the, don't worry about the puddle, that's water because it was raining a little bit ago. Rain likes to catch on there and then come down here and come out a hole. But yeah, got the fuel cells mounted and got 3 straps on each side plus 1 going the length of it. And the 2 middle ones actually bolt to the cell, and then here the rest are like a conventional style gas tank strap where it just goes under it and holds it up. Got some fresh plugs in it, got some fresh oil in it. Oh, made the throttle cable. This is just a cheap, like, I don't know, $20-$30 Amazon cable, like the PKY one or something. But seems to work great. Had to modify the pedal. Typically, when LS swapping like an older GM car, you usually have to bend the pedal because it's shaped kind of like that, and you usually just have to bend them closer to get the right throw. This one, maybe I can show you on the 55. So the throttle pedal bolts through here, and then there's like an arm that goes up to another linkage. So I ended up pulling the pedal off from the inside, cutting that, and then drilling a hole, welding an arm to the inside of the bar. I'll show you guys that here in a second. Just like that. Goes full throttle, no problem. And if he decides he doesn't like the pedal being that high up, which I would understand, it wouldn't be heck to just bend it down a little bit. That's kind of one of those personal preference things. I just wanted to make sure that it was going to get full pedal throw and go full throttle. Power steering lines are hooked up. Hopefully they're good and functional. Got the exhaust made. Pretty sure I showed you guys that. And I got the pieces going down and 90'd out so that we can, whenever he gets here with the stacks, I can get those welded on real quick. Hopefully real quick. And we did have a spark tester on this. So while I was cranking over, I could see that it was flashing. We were getting spark. So that's all good. Once we get the solenoid wire and the fuel pump wired back up and the fuel in it, this thing should be a runner. Now I know I haven't really been filming a whole lot with it. That's because I've just been getting to work on this thing, because Dave is hoping to pick this thing up in 2 days. Yep, 2 days. I got today and tomorrow, and then he's gonna be here in the morning. And I am having a heck of a time figuring out this dang solenoid wire. You're probably wondering to yourself what all that noise in the background is. Well, my dad, Papatron, he somehow managed to come across a little mini tractor with an excavator bucket on the back. So I just said, hey, if you're bored and wanna tackle this hill out here, bring it on over. So that's what he's been doing the last 4 hours. Yeah, the goal is to make this a circle drive around that tree, because in the summertime that tree looks really nice, so I didn't want to give that up. So I want to make this a circle drive because backing up this driveway sucks. So if I can just turn around here and then whoop back, and then digging this out to park the trailer way back there. Got a hell of a hill here to dig though. But that little thing's been putting in work all morning. All right, whew. Finally got it. That was so stupid. Which I knew would be something stupid, because with old wiring, it's always something stupid. It's not like this wiring's really been hacked up, so it had to just be like a bad ground or something like that. And in our case, corroded ignition switch terminals. Because checked everything. I've looked at 9,000 wiring diagrams for this thing in the past couple days. Well, not couple days, since yesterday, like 11 yesterday. And it was weird, because everywhere, I knew in my heart it was something with the ignition switch, but for whatever reason, I didn't pull it out until just a second ago. Pulled it out, checked the wiring at the plug, and arced across from battery to start, cranked over perfectly. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Bench tested the switch, grounding the body, putting power to the battery terminal, doing that, worked perfect. Interesting, plugged it back in, working perfect. So just corroded terminals just fucked me out of like a day and a half. Have I told you guys lately that I hate wiring? Like, stop bringing me things to wire. I don't want to do it anymore. I hate it. But yeah, there we go. Back in business. Let's go. Now, I just need to, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that the truck needs, obviously. It's probably 75% done. But to get it to actually fire up, I need to hook up the ground for the fuel pump, put gas in it, and it should, well, check the fittings for the fuel lines. Like I think the two up here at the rails might be loose, and then it should fire up and run. It's already got deleted ECU, VATS is gone, vehicle anti-theft system. All the fuses are good. All the loose wires except for the trans converter wire is all hooked up. The engine's nice and grounded. We got engine to body, engine to battery. Could do engine to chassis. We do have one more ground wire left over, which I probably will do. Never hurts to do as many grounds as you can. Yeah, so I might go get a few gallons of fuel, and we'll try and fire this thing up here shortly. All right, just put 3.5 gallons in there. All right. Stock ECU, it has just a prime. Oh, nothing's leaking. You can definitely hear it pumping. Fuck it, try it. It's wanting to run. Yeah. There we go. This thing's got some rumble to it. That sounds pretty damn good. Little cold rev? I said a little cold rev.
I'm not touching it.
No, I was saying to rev it up a little bit.
I never tighten those training lines down below.
Well, let me check. Yeah, it's not dripping. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I told him, because I was like, I hope this thing runs good, and he's like, well, it's stock ECU, stock motor, and I was like, well, things change sometimes. Alright, take two. Got the MAF sensor on here. We don't have a coupler for it, which is why it was off, so just rig that up, see if that was our issue. Still popped a little. It is at least running, but yeah, it's... I kind of wonder if... I'm pretty sure he said this engine originally came with a drive-by-wire, like an electronic throttle body. I wonder if that was changed in the tune on that computer. On the bright side, those mufflers sound really good. I like those. I don't know how well you could hear them in there, but out here they sounded pretty good. Just some 3-inch pipe and basically bullet style resonators on it.
Yeah.
I was worried it was going to be super loud because it's straight pipe dumped under the doors, but it really wasn't too terrible. But hell yeah, got it running. Which yesterday I was really questioning whether that was going to happen or not. So Dave should be here tomorrow to pick this thing up. He's going to bring the stuff to make the stacks. We'll get those made, a few more things buttoned up. We'll put the hood back on it, clean everything off of it, and we'll be able to see this thing in all of its glory. All right, so we are finally done with the ramp truck. It was a long 3-week process, but we're here, and the thing looks amazing. Check this bad boy out. Good Lord. This thing's got some meat back here. Dave's here hooking on the trailer to pick the truck up. We knocked out this headache rack and used that to mount the stacks. That took a little while, took a couple hours, but got everything lined up. Measurements we're happy with. The thing looks freaking killer. It sounds awesome. The way it rumbles. Damn. The stacks, trust me, the stacks did not quiet it down that much. So I'm pretty sure I got all my tools out of it. We're gonna push this thing out of the garage because it doesn't have any brakes right now. We did jack the rear end up, go through the gears. All that seems good. So this thing is off to greener pastures now. Anyway, that is gonna do it for the ramp truck build. Unfortunately, I'd like to keep this thing around. This thing's friggin' sweet. But that is gonna do it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, all that. And I'll see you in the next one.